Hello and welcome to This Week in Laker Football. It's your exclusive look week to week all season long into your hometown team, the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football squad. I'm Tyler Keith here on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and always online on civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. In addition, find us on YouTube at Civic Center TV. A really interesting matchup for the Lakers this week at Lake Orion High School, so we thought we'd do a special episode and take our show on the road to Lake Orion. We'll talk to some of the athletes from this year's team. We'll talk to head coach Zach Hilbers about the game afterward, and talk to others from throughout the greater West Bloomfield community, give you an inside look at these Lakers. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get into all the action as the Lakers take on the Lake Orion Dragons this week in week number 4. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football. Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into your West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keith, alongside West Bloomfield High School Athletic Director Eric Pierce. Eric, this football team off to an impressive start this season, and already off to an impressive start tonight, and we're shooting this midway through the Lake Orion game this week. And to talk to us about this year's team and how it kind of encapsulates the Lakers spirit and the spirit of this football program.
Yeah, sure. So as you know, right from the get-go, our schedule is not an easy schedule at all. It's always very challenging playing in the OAA Red, and then, our non-conference games are against very tough opponents. So this team knew that they had to come out, they had to play well, and they've done a great job of finding a way to win the first 3 weeks. Sometimes it had to be a grinded-out type performance, overcoming injuries. Other times it looked a little bit smoother, but my goodness, it's been very impressive, and I'm proud of these guys and the way that they've battled adversity and come out on top so far.
And it doesn't get much easier from here. Of course, Lake Orion is the game tonight. The results we'll have later on in the program for you, and we've already discussed already in this program. But then coming up, you got Rochester Adams coming in town. You go back on the road to Clarkston and then on to Oxford and Southfield A&T. And so from an administrative standpoint, how did that schedule come together, especially with a season that's pretty unique with just 3 home games?
Right, yeah. And the big thing is in the OAA we get 7 games in the OAA Red, and then our crossovers. So we have to go out and find a week 1 and a week 9 opponent, and we tried for the life of us to find somebody to play week 1 and week 9 that would travel to West Bloomfield. This is one of those years where we have 3 home games in our given schedule and 4 away games, and then the deals always came out that they wouldn't play us unless it was at their home field. So eventually, after numerous phone calls and emails, we eventually decided that we'd do the Prep Kickoff Classic week 1, and then we'd play Oak Park at Oak Park week 9 in order to get our 9 games in.
Yeah, Lakers just 3 home games this season, already off to a great start with that first home game against Stony Creek, and a really interesting matchup coming up this week against Rochester Adams. And in terms of this team's play, it's been excellent on the field. The offense has been electric all season, and the defense has been just as stout as we were expecting. Now, just how far do you think this team can go in this season with the talent that they have and the way these young guys have been stepping up too? For
sure, yeah, the sky's the limit. I mean, it all depends on how they come together, how they continue to build their identity as a team. I love what Coach Hilbers is doing. He's holding people accountable, and at the same time, he's encouraging and providing a lot of support for these players. It's been a wonderful start, and I'm looking forward for some more great football.
And plenty of more great sports programs at West Bloomfield High School, including in the fall season. And it's a different time that we're living in, with even at a high school level, sports expanding to being so much bigger, community to community, and really being sort of a business within a high school, within a greater community. Speak to that and how that helps you form the vision of this athletic department, but also working with these teams to build these programs individually.
One of our big mantras is everybody's part of Laker Nation, and whatever you do, whether it's a club, it's an activity, it's a sport, you're all part of the whole package. That's the culture of West Bloomfield, and we're so proud of all of our student athletes and everybody that's going out there and representing our school and doing it in the right way, and they're all working hard. They're doing a great job. I mean, you look at somebody like Elizabeth Eichbrecht from our swim program, who was state champion twice last year as a freshman and doing it all again this year. I mean, we've got a lot of good things going on, and it really does fill me up with pride as an athletic director to see the way that our coaches are conducting themselves and handling their teams this year.
This is such a great crowd, a great turnout tonight in Lake Orion, traveling very far across Oakland County to come come to this game. Speak to the Laker faithful and how they help support teams like this football team and ultimately bring them up to the next level.
Yeah, no, it's a special group, and you know, that's like I said, part of the culture that we've been trying to build over the last 10, 15 years at West Bloomfield is something where we put something out on the field that makes everybody proud and represents our community well, and I do truly believe that our teams do that.
Eric Pierce, the athletic director, with us on This Week in Laker Football. Eric, any other exciting news in the athletic department we should be keeping an eye out for? Anything else you'd like to say tonight?
Absolutely. Of course, next week our homecoming game against Rochester Adams. A special treat before the game. We are going to be inducting Ron Bellamy into our Coaches Hall of Fame. I do believe that Coach Bellamy has gotten word and permission from Michigan that he can be there. So it's going to be a great time. We'll be doing that right before as opening ceremonies of the game. It's something that's long overdue. We just couldn't get him back, ever. And it's truly a blessing to have him come back. Love having him. He was such a big impact on our program. So please come on out to that, support, and show your, so all your encouragement and everything for our team, and also show your support for Ron Bellamy as we honor him on Friday.
Yeah, Coach Bell, a pioneer in this modern Lakers football landscape, helped to rebuild this program, and Coach Grice and Coach Hilbers and company have continued to make this program one of the best contenders in the entire state of Michigan. Eric, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Always appreciate it. Eric Pierce, athletic director at West Bloomfield High School, with us on This Week in Laker Football. We'll take a break. We'll take a bigger look after the break into this week's game against Lake Orion and take a look forward to the homecoming game coming up next week, Friday at 7 o'clock at West Bloomfield High School. Rochester Adams coming to town. The Lakers trying to beat them for the first time in 4 matchups. We'll have all the coverage live for you, beginning with our Laker pregame show at 6:30 and kickoff at 7 on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. This Week in Laker Football continues after this. A big game on the big stage in northern Oakland County for Week 3. The 3-0 Lakers headed to Dragon Country to take on the 3-0 Lake Orion Dragons for first place in the OAA Red. This matchup was all defense early on, the Dragons turning a Caden DeGraffenreid pick into an early drive, and the Lakers returned the favor, shutting down the Lake Orion offense, driving down the field courtesy of some quick work by quarterback Rick Nance and his wide receiving core. The bomb squad, Elijah Durham taking it deep into the red zone, where the Dragons hold the Lakers to just 3 points off the field goal by Justin Ward. We head to the second. The Lakers take over off of a Dragon punt and skip up the field from their 21 before the bomb squad strikes again. Elijah Durham takes it to the house for his 5th touchdown of the season. Lakers go up 10-3. After a Lake Orion 3-and-out and an unsuccessful L-Boys drive, the Dragons settle the score with star running back Billy Roberson wiping his jersey number 3 off the scoreboard and replacing it with a 10 on a dash into the end zone. Score is 10-10 at halftime. Penalties give the Dragons favorable field position to start the third quarter, but the defense keeps Lake Orion honest, and the Dragons keep the Lakers on their toes. Caden DeGraffenreid with another big play, sacking Rick Nance to set up the second Justin Ward field goal of the night. Lakers retake the lead 13-10. The Dragons fly up the field, breathing fire with a 50-plus yard field goal attempt, but it's just short. Lakers take over to start the fourth quarter. The Lakers and Dragons trade blows throughout the fourth before Lake Orion makes a 58-yard, over 4-minute-long drive to take back the lead 17-13. The Lakers had already used a timeout on the previous drive with $1:24 to go, so it was time to see if lightning could strike twice in late game situations for WB early on in the season. Nance finds Elijah Durham, then Brandon Davis-Swain, both for first downs before the first inbound catch leads to a second of 3 timeouts going off the board for West Bloomfield. Then a huge catch by Nigel Dunton sets the Lakers up for one last effort to win the game, and the clock strikes midnight on the young men in white. This week, the Dragons slay their opponents and take control of the OAA Red Division. Final score, West Bloomfield 13, Lake Orion 17. Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive look week to week into your West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team. I'm Tyler Keefe, joined by West Bloomfield Lakers defensive end Brandon Davis-Swain. Brandon, not the result you wanted this week, with the Lakers ultimately losing 13-17 to Lake Orion, but nonetheless a strong showing overall, especially in that front seven from your defensive line. Speak to that relationship this year between the D-line and the linebackers, and how you've all been able to kind of gel so well so far and really put some pressure in the backfield.
I think it's because when we come into practice, I gotta have my guys focused, because I know Lake Orion is a great team. That's why in practice we have to be locked in, and then it didn't show tonight. So in the first half we were playing great, but it doesn't matter. We got the second half to be better, and that's just not what we did. We got a lot of personal fouls, talking back to the refs, and that's what beat us today, and that's all I got.
Yeah, coaches often say that, physical errors are okay, but those mental errors can be the ones that take the biggest toll on your team. So as a leader in the locker room, how do you help your guys make that adjustment from this week? Stay focused on Rochester Adams, but also learn from the mistakes that were quite costly tonight at Lake Orion.
Yeah, for my corner, Bryce, I got to keep him under control, because I know we got some high heads on the team, but when he got that flag, that really cost us. It was second and long. And then, unfortunately, we had him. The penalty came out, gave him a first down, and then we held him to three, but they still scored. So I think we got to come out, talk to my players, and just keep them in a mindset to not overreact. I got to keep them calm.
It's a long season, Brandon, 3-1 at this point in the season, but the thick of the schedule is still ahead. So how do you keep your guys focused week to week on the matchup that's at hand and not get too far ahead of yourself, knowing that you got a really competitive schedule the rest of the way and your team has so much potential? All
I gotta say is it's the next week. Can't do nothing about this game right now. We had the chance to, but unfortunately we fell short. So it's on to the next week. This is in practice we've been saying we have to lock in, because this is a good team and we can lose, which we did today. So it's on to the next week. Hoping for a victory too, but we got to come out and practice and be locked in mentally and physically.
Big week ahead for the Lakers. Rochester Adams coming to town on homecoming night next week, Friday. We'll have the coverage for you live on Civic Center TV with kickoff at 7 o'clock, the Laker pregame show at 6:30. Brandon, before we let you go, anything else you want to say about this team at this point in the season, or maybe even about those younger guys coming up that have had a chance to get extra playing time this season with some injuries and their performance thus far?
Our young guys' performance has been outstanding. Both our linebackers got hurt. Them guys stepping up for sure. On offense, too, we got a whole bunch of young guys, receivers, linemen, running back. And so I'm trusting in them guys. They're going to step up. I know that, because they felt this loss. They heard crying. It's one loss. We lost to Clarkston our state championship year, and we still came and won it all. So this one loss doesn't define us. We just have to come back and keep working.
Those tough losses often are the biggest lessons for these teams as they progress throughout the season. Brandon, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Brandon Davis-Swain, Lakers defensive end. The Lakers falling tonight at Lake Orion 13-17. They'll be back next week at home for the homecoming game against Rochester Adams. We'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football. On the other side, we'll have a discussion with Coach Hilbers about tonight's game and preview next week's matchup against the Rochester Adams Highlanders. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football.
Missed one of our live broadcasts or one of your local municipal meetings? Check it out online at civiccentertv.com. Every meeting, show, and interview on demand. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Learn more about fire prevention in our community at the West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House, Sunday, October 1st, from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 in West Bloomfield. Embrace safety and celebrate 100 years of service from our West Bloomfield Fire Department, October 1st at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road, plus coverage from us right here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive look each and every week all season long into your West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside head coach Zach Hilbers. Coach, a tough loss tonight against Lake Orion, a really hard-fought game for your team that in the first half you guys seemed to be well in control, playing good football against a really competitive Lake Orion squad. What changed in the second half that ultimately turned the tide really in the favor of the Dragons.
No, when it came down to it, was too many mistakes. You make mistakes against good teams, they're going to make you pay for it. And eventually they did. At the end of the game, they made a couple winning plays. Their running back made a winning play, the quarterback did, and obviously the receiver that caught the game-winning catch. But yeah, we had our chances, and that's on us. I think we got a lot better in a lot of ways. And you come out with a loss, it doesn't. It hurts. And I told the kids, like, let they take that feeling and look like where you were, where you got to, and sometimes you can play a better game and lose. And our defense played a lot better, and we lost. And a lot of that's on us on the other side of the ball. We got to play a complete game.
Managing a game is tough any week, whether it's a close game or a game that's lopsided in one team's favor or the other. But speak to how that management of a game changes when it's that close against a really competitive team, and it has big implications for your season.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, obviously. So, it's not down in distance, it's clock, it's where they are in the field, it's, who their best players are, where they line up, and you try to prepare as best you can throughout the week, and the more you know your opponent inside and out, the more ready you are for that stuff. So we thought we had a pretty good read on them, and I think we did. Like, we knew they were good, we knew their players that were good, and we bottled them up for most of the game, but they're good players and they made big plays. And, we've got some good players too, and that made some big plays, and that have made big plays, and they just made one more than we did.
You spoke in the scrum after the game with your team about staying focused, not letting this loss linger for too long and feel too bad about yourself, but also taking in those lessons you learned from tonight. How important is it for your team to quickly refocus onto Rochester Adams and come back strong in Week 5 and leave Week 4 in the past?
Yeah, well, the goal is to win the league, and we can still do that, and we might need some help now that, we lost a game on them, but we can still handle our business and hopefully achieve goal 1, and because if we do that, we think we'll be in the playoffs, and that's like our ticket to get to the ultimate goal. In the year we won it all, we lost a game. The year we went to the state finals and we lost our first 2 games, and we've gone on undefeated a couple seasons, and we lost in the first round of the playoffs. So, it's obviously a setback. You don't want it. You go out there, you try to compete every week and win. But our goals are still in front of us, and we just have to focus on that. And it's just, constant improvement and just, I guess, showing that we can play with good teams on the road and win, even though we didn't get it done.
Rochester Adams coming to town on homecoming night this coming Friday at West Bloomfield High School. 7 o'clock kickoff, and we'll have a pregame show beginning at 6:30 p.m. exclusively on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Now, speaking of the Highlanders, been a really tough team for West Bloomfield going up against them over the last couple of seasons. Multiple consecutive wins against your team. Does that add a little bit of extra motivation as you go into homecoming night against the team that's had your number to finally cross that off your list to get over the Highlanders?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. They're a really good team, really good program. Kids are tough as nails, and they've beaten us the last 3 times we played. So we know that as a staff. The kids obviously know that too, and that definitely matters. But when it comes down to it, they're not going to take it easy on it just because they got us a few times. So we got to go out there and get it done.
Coach Petrino and company always going to bring their A game in every single game, especially on the road in a tough environment like West Bloomfield. Coach, your lasting thoughts from this weekend, your thoughts going into week number 5 at home against Rochester Adams?
I guess just that, like I said earlier, our goals are still in front of us, and it hurts and it stinks, but we can't sit here and wallow in our own sorrow just because we lost a road game in a really deep, tough conference, because that team next week, they don't care what happened to us this week. They're going to show up and try to beat us, and we got to be just as ready next week to get the job done, and obviously just get 1 or 2 more plays.
6 days to prepare for Rochester Adams coming to town against your now 3-1 West Bloomfield Lakers following their 13-17 loss this week at Lake Orion High School. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
You got it. Thanks.
We'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football. On the other side, we'll wrap things up and get ready for homecoming week coming up on Friday against Rochester Adams. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football.
Learn more about fire prevention in our community at the West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House, Sunday, October 1st, from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 in West Bloomfield. Embrace safety and celebrate 100 years of service from our West Bloomfield Fire Department, October 1st at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road, plus coverage from us right here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Watch West Bloomfield Lakers football all season long on 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. Join Tyler Kieft and Matt Catoni each week for live, in-depth, and exclusive coverage before, during, and after the big game. It's your local high school football team on the road and in your backyard on your home for West Bloomfield Laker football, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. On cable and the radio. On the web too, and on social media. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive look into your West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team all season long. I'm Tyler Kieft, and we thank you for joining us on Civic Center TV on 89.3 Lakes FM, on our social media, and always online on civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. A heartbreaking loss for the West Bloomfield Lakers in a very hard-fought game against Lake Orion. It was a tale of two defenses all game long, with the Lakers going toe-to-toe with this higher-powering Lake Orion offense led by running back Billy Roberson and an excellent core of quarterbacks and other skilled players that are playing excellent football all the way up into this game. For the Lakers, their offense on fire in the first half and hit a snag by the Lake Orion defense late in the second half. Mistakes and penalties drawing the Lakers to a close in this game, ultimately losing on a final drive at the end of the game, getting into Lake Orion territory down to their 40-yard line, and time just ran out on the West Bloomfield Lakers. Nonetheless, 13-17 is the final score in favor of the Dragons. Lakers coming home next week for their second to last home game of the season against Rochester Adams. It's the homecoming game. A lot of special stuff happening at West Bloomfield High School, including the honoring of former head coach Ron Bellamy, who's now an assistant at the University of Michigan. We'll have all the coverage of next week's game coming to you live on Civic Center TV. We'll begin with this program at 6 o'clock. Laker pregame show at 6:30 and kickoff against the Highlanders of Rochester Adams at 7 o'clock on your home for Laker football, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. For our entire team at Civic Center TV and the West Bloomfield Lakers football program, I'm Tyler Kieft. Thank you for joining us once again on This Week in Laker Football.